welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. I am super excited to be here today with Ed, as we are every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time with our health and fitness hacks. How have you been doing, Ed?
Yeah, really good, thanks. I mean, it's 5 o'clock in Copenhagen, so I've had a day full of clients and conversations. So yeah, I'm really good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. I'm in Miami now, and yeah, doing well. I love the weather. I could not complain. I am such a heat person. I like the heat. I could have this all year round. I don't need any cold. And mosquitoes, not so much. So Ed, I'm just going to go and dive in. Our last call was pretty awesome, and we talked about some pretty I wouldn't say delicate subjects, but definitely subjects that are real. We went into the realness of things, and not just the pretty and like the fancy, but like the, oh yeah, work out, be healthy. But no, if you don't, this is what you get. And actually as well, the health industry. And so I'm hoping that we'll do the same on this call and kind of go deep into certain subjects. I'm going to start off with this week's theme. This week's theme is language and words. And yesterday's hack of the day was words have power. Today's hacks is we hear our own words. And actually, Peter this morning was doing in his morning founder's thoughts, he was giving us an example that was around working out. And he was like, oh, for example, when we're saying losing weight, right? And it reminded me of a health seminar I took. And it's like, it's not about losing weight. It's about letting go of excess that we don't need, right? So the power of words psychologically, we don't want to be losing something, right? We might find it again, but if we let go of something, we don't want it again. So that made me think of that. And I don't know what your thoughts are in terms of health and fitness, the power of words, and we hear our own words. What are your thoughts?
It's interesting, actually. I've been discussing this recently. I just had a consultation with someone who was talking about something that was happening inside their company with a stress coach, and I won't go into any details or anything like that, but safe to say, I disagreed with the practice that the person was doing, because they were giving them positive affirmations. They were just handing them these affirmations that they would basically say in the mirror each morning. I am great, or I am healthy, I am wealthy and wise, or whatever, right? But it was a generic 5 positive things. And what the studies on affirmations show is that affirmations are incredibly powerful, and that doesn't necessarily have to be positive. They can be powerful if you completely believe the thing that you're affirming. Then you are reinforcing something that you already believe, and therefore strengthening neural connections around that thing, and you will be more likely to embody that thing. Just like identifying as I am a smoker. If that's true, then it's true, right? But saying I am not a smoker, if you are a smoker, is reinforcing to yourself that you're a liar, basically. And that causes chaos inside your brain, right? We know that the studies are clear on affirmations is if they are not true, and you know that they aren't true, they reinforce that you're just lying to yourself. And it's constantly showing yourself a mirror where your thought is, I'm ugly, and you're saying, I'm beautiful. And our brains just don't do very well with that at all, right? So it's a great theme, and I do believe that words are important. There's something that my daughter, my wife does with my daughter, is if she comes home and says that person is fat, or that person is going to become fat, is that she said, well, you can't be fat, can you? I mean, you can have it, but you just like you can have fingernails, and you can have eyes, but you can't be eyes, and you can't be fingernails, and you can't be fat. It's it's a type of tissue in your body that you can have, and you need a certain amount of it in order to be healthy, and some of it is excess. There is an amount that if you go too low or too high, then you can become unwell because of those things. And so you can't be it. And owning something like that is, this is something that I am, it becomes quite difficult to separate yourself from, right?
Completely. So the power of words are is definitely there. You agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's there's lots of studies proving it, right? If you use words like pain or slipped disc, or words that hold kind of meaning to us, they light up different parts of our brain. You know, the language that you use when dealing with a patient that's in pain or mentally suffering can literally determine if they get better or worse based on the reframings that you're using. You know, one of the first things I do with clients who come in telling me they've slipped a disc is show them that you can't slip a disc. That's not a thing you can have. You know, something can bulge, but slip it cannot. And that's really dangerous language. If you imagine the imagery of slip disc, it's, well, that bit that sits between my spine can just come out like a domino or a Jenga cube. All of a sudden you start walking around on eggshells, tensing everything up because you're fearing this thing can happen just because of the indelicate language that your practitioner used.
So what are the most common languages that you see that so often? And what's your recommendation? What's your reframe if you had to say a few?
Stress management, that's one. Why would you manage something that you don't want to have? That sounds a bit mental.
So how would you reframe that one?
Well, a shift of focus. Like, how about we don't manage stress? How about we shift our focus towards those things that you do want? But I know that reframing is particularly popular. I know that some people are very good at it. It doesn't tend to be a practice that I use because I don't like to give people reframes because I don't know if that's worked. But what I do encourage my clients to do is create more clarity around what they actually mean, because words are essentially concepts. And so we use a word so that, you know, there's a million different types of cup, but a cup is a concept that most people who know what cups are understand, so that we can categorize all of those things. And the same is true of everything, right? We are, as individuals, we see each other as concepts, and all objects around us and all things and all emotions, they're concepts, they're collections of feelings. So we want to get more specific, exact, specific and precise around what each thing means. And then when we actually look more closely at a thing, rather than just looking at it a bit, when something's threatening to us and we look at it a bit, you know, studies show that actually if we go deeper and look at it even harder and get more clarity around what it means, a lot of the stuff that just doesn't make any sense just falls away. Whereas when we don't look at it, when we're vague and imprecise around something, that's when it holds an awful lot of power, because we're not looking at it objectively, we're looking at it through the filter of vague, imprecise feelings.
I completely agree, and the reframe is, we mentioned the reframe is so important. So you touched on stress management, and so I wrote that down. I was like, interesting. It sounds like there's something there. So you say, like, you shouldn't manage stress. You should just, you know, focus on something else. But do you believe that somebody could live without any stress?
So stress, to define it, right, is when your sympathetic nervous system is dominating. So like now, both of us are being dominated by our sympathetic nervous system. Do you feel stressed?
No.
Good. So what we call stress then would be when the sympathetic nervous system is dominant, when we don't want it to be. So if I'm relaxing on the sofa, or if I want to go to sleep and my mind won't stop worrying, it won't stop being in the sympathetic branch of my nervous system. It's basically, I'm saying relax and it's saying no. Then I want to start creating clarity around why that is. I don't want to manage it. I want to create a different experience for myself.
That's super interesting that you're saying that. And then after I answered that question, I kind of like put my shoulders back, and because I noticed that even though I'm having a great time, and I wouldn't say I'm stressed, but I have tendency when I am going through things in life, and right now I'm moving, there's a lot of different changes going on in my life. And so I noticed my shoulders were tense. My body was less, I wasn't like standing up straight. Like, so I guess my answer wasn't totally accurate. I could say that, yes, I don't feel worried. I don't feel stressed. I'm having a great time, and I'm listening, and I'm learning, and I'm having great, but I had to like be conscious of my body and go, oh my God, my shoulder's really tense. And I have stress in my body. So what do you think about that?
Well, it's quite a loaded thing, right? If I go into a company and let's say there's 30 people and we're doing some sort of exercise, I always say a word, right? Like posture, and then step back and watch, because what everybody does is they check in, right? They check in and adjust their posture because you've said posture, and they know how they should be sitting. And what happened when I asked you if you were stressed is, for a moment there, you had to check in and identify with that. You had to notice if you were stressed, right? Which basically strengthens your ability to connect with stressed. And why would you want to do that? That's constantly asking you. Stress management is constantly asking you to check in with whether you are stressed, rather than going, are you doing the things that make you feel happy? Are you doing the things that make you feel good? Like, oh, well, you could go, actually, my neck is feeling a little bit tight, so I'm going to get a massage. So I'm going to do some sort of trigger pointing treatment, as demonstrated in, I think, some of this week's videos that are in the members area, to de-stress. But constantly having to check in with that is that reinforcement. All feelings are concepts, and those concepts are made up by, also all emotions are concepts that are made up by ingredients of feelings. And if we're constantly searching for those ones to reinforce a negative experience, we're just going to become more and more familiar with those things. Whereas if we create clarity around what creates them, and stop creating them, and create clarity around what creates the feelings that we want, and start actively putting those things into our lives, then we start operating from a very different way. Whereas when you talk about stress management, it's, well, this thing is just here. I wonder why this is here. Just like someone who goes to the doctor and says, someone goes to the doctor and says, I'm not feeling very well. And the doctor just says, no problem, here's a prescription. Rather than going, let's check in on all of the symptoms and how you're creating it. We so often go to the doctor and just say, this random thing has occurred. And that's what we want to happen often when we go to the doctor. We want them to affirm, yeah, everything's actually great. I'm not sure what went wrong here. But actually, all emotions, all feelings, all stress, all illness is cause and effect. So we're doing something that's creating it. And if we can identify with what we're doing that's creating it by looking at it more closely, we can stop creating it, including stress. That doesn't mean stress will go away forever. In fact, we don't want that. We want to keep growing. We want to step into the unknown constantly, but we want to be inviting that and knowing that actually there is no growth without those feelings of a lack of prediction and response, which is stress.
So what I'm hearing you say is when somebody notices it, instead of going, okay, like managing the stress, you're going to, okay, what's causing the tense shoulders? Or would I go and just focus on, okay, what can I do not to have tense shoulders and forget about the cause?
Um, cause and remedy are both kind of useful things, right? If somebody is diagnosed as clinically depressed, sometimes it can be really, really helpful to get the drugs from the doctor. But then when you've got those drugs and you're kind of feeling a little bit more mentally clear, you can start working out how you've gone about creating that in your life and start moving away from it. And just the same way as if your shoulders are tight, not focusing on that fact might be useful for whatever you need to get done now, but then going away and remedying that rather than just going, I'm going to turn a blind eye to that. So you remedy it however you choose to do that. And then you go, this keeps happening. What is it that I'm doing that's creating it?
Wow. So insightful. And you talked about I can never say that word, parasympathetic.
Parasympathetic?
Yes. And it made me think, well, is there good stress and bad stress?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's entirely up to your definition, right? But about growth is that all new things are inherently uncertain. So that is a lack of prediction and response. When we have a lack of prediction and response, we operate from the sympathetic branch of our nervous system. And then, so, you move to a new city and there's lots of uncertainty around, but you can choose to be excited about that. And that is stressful in your body. And you can choose to be petrified about the same thing, right? But physiologically, the same thing is happening, but fear is going to create something more akin to freeze, and excitement is going to create something more along the lines of action, right?
100%. It makes me think of, so I read this book, The 5-Second Rule, from Mel Robbins. Have you heard of it? And
I've
so
heard of,
she
in fact, it
mentioned
went
that,
through my Audible today. Carry on.
And I listened to it the second time actually, and one of the things she talks about it, she gets nervous before she goes on stage, and I love being on stage, so I wouldn't say I relate as much, but I do relate now to this whole idea of stress, where she says, she goes, there's research that has shown that the way our body chemistry, and she goes into more details than I would, our body chemistry reacts to, I am nervous, I am scared, is the same as I am excited. Like, it's the same body reaction or hormonal reaction, or very similar, than the I'm excited. So before she gets on stage, she just goes, I'm excited, I'm excited, I'm excited. And it's the same feeling in our body. Excitement and nervousness or fear is the same body, same reaction in our body. So changing that language really helps. It helps because it makes you move forward and pass through. So yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell a story about a man queuing for a roller coaster, and rings a friend, and the friend says, "Oh, hey, what you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm queuing for a roller coaster." And he says, the guy on the phone says, "I hate roller coasters. I get really frightened. My palms start sweating. My heart starts racing. I can feel the adrenaline going around my body." And the guy in the queue says, "Yeah, that's excitement." It's the same physiological things. I mean, the only thing that I would say is that if you're affirming that you're excited, you better have evidence that you're excited, right? Because if you're affirming something you don't believe to be true, then it's your brain's just going to reinforce the opposite. But if you can say, exactly, but if you can say, I'm excited because this is an opportunity to change some minds, or whatever, because I'm really I'm confident in these words and they come from the heart, and I really want to share this message with these people, then, and that's why I'm excited and those things are true, then great. But if it's actually, I believe, I mean, the reason that we get nervous when we go on stage is because if I'm talking one-to-one like this, I don't think I'm going to get kicked out of the tribe. But if the whole tribe disagrees with me, like they don't laugh or they don't clap or anything like that, I'm going to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger as soon as I'm kicked out of the tribe. And that's kind of the very real experience of it. It's kind of going, acknowledging that fact and go, that this is the reason that I'm scared is fine, right? Because your brain just needs to understand why it's feeling like that.
And one of the things I think is so important that you mentioned is you need to believe what you're telling yourself, right? I need to believe, like if I tell myself I'm going to let go of 6 kilos in one day, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Or even like we talked about this on a call. I don't remember which week it was, but where I explained how I'm used to working out in a group and I go to group classes, and now being in quarantine, I find it really hard to be motivated. And you're like, just do 100 jumps or jump in. I'm doing jumping jacks. I've enhanced the jumps.
Modified, I like it.
The 100 jumping jacks. And I was like, okay, that's attainable. I can do that. That makes sense. Like then to even like when tasks, it relates to that. Like instead of climbing a whole mountain saying, oh, I'm going to work out, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to do all these things all in one go, it just backfires. So I guess it's the same thing with the words we tell ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's fine to want to end up at a particular place, right? So if you say, I want to end up at a place where I'm happy, you can say, I'm doing more things in my day that make me happy, right? And if you in fact are, and you reinforce that, then, and you go, this thing is making me happy, then you strengthen that connection, you make yourself more likely to do that thing, and you reinforce it, and then that's great. But if you're saying, I'm happy, and you're not happy, that's not going to work out so well for you.
No, it won't. Thank you so much for those insights, and totally relating to this week's theme. So one of the things I read on the email we sent out today for people to join us on this call is feel better to do better. What's that all about?
Well, I was asked to create a theme for the week, so I thought I'd like to talk about that. One of the really common things that people used to tell me on their like initial consultation, the first session, was when I am insert type of exercise, when I'm consistently running, I just naturally eat better, and when I am consistently eating better, I tend to move more or whatever, right? So when somebody tracks something new that they're doing, or something that they're already doing for their health, it grows. And when they track that thing and share it with somebody else, it grows exponentially. I think it's called Peterson's law. But just by virtue of the fact of going, I'm going to notice this thing that I know I'm doing to benefit my health, even if you've already been doing it naturally, if you start tracking it, it improves. People who share food pictures on Instagram start eating healthier, right? And it's just, every time we try and set a goal, a long-term goal to achieve, let's say something you mentioned, losing 6 kilograms, let's say it's that, and that's your objective. What people tend to do is go, I need to now assimilate the exact behaviors of somebody 6 kilograms lighter than me, right? That's pretty much what we're doing. We're going, I need this much of a calorie deficit, I need this amount of exercise, because people who weigh that are doing this stuff. And what, I'm losing my train of thought here, too many words spent today. What's actually true is that if we try and do all of those things and we don't manage it, we feel bad. But if we do nothing, but we measure what we're already doing to benefit our health, we start to feel pretty good about the stuff that we are doing, and then we start doing more. So a really bad recipe for getting where you want to go is putting so much pressure on yourself that you feel bad, because when you feel bad, you act bad. You act in alignment with the way that you feel, right? You know, if you're angry, you kick the cat. If you're happy, you stroke the cat. Don't kick your cats, folks. Right? So if you just do this, no. But if you're feeling just slightly better, you're feeling slightly better than you were, you start medicating that feeling better with more feel better actions. So if we can focus on the feeling, we end up doing better, and that just grows exponentially.
Oh yes, I feel that then impacts all other areas of life. Like you're saying, yeah, don't kick the cat, but it's true. Like we might start talking badly to our partners, or just losing our tempers with employees, or whatever it is. And I've always said, like, I need to feel good to do good. I never related it to fitness. And so would you say a good exercise would be to just write down, looking at like, okay, you know, one thing I do really well is sleeping. That's good for my health.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, that's like the whole ball game, right? If you're getting 50% or 33.5% of your life bang on, then, you know, you're ahead of the game. Sleeping is, you know, it's such a powerful thing to be getting right. So just going, yeah, I had a good night's sleep, will make you go, I wonder if I can slightly enhance it. What could I do to make it slightly better? And noticing everything that you're already doing makes doing one additional thing better. But what most people will tend to do, what our brains kind of lean us towards, is I'm going to be dramatic and say I'm not doing anything that is benefiting my health, right? I mean, you mentioned there not relating health and fitness to the rest of your life or whatever, but the truth is that everything is us, right? There's your relationships are either good or bad for your health, or neutral, right? Or, you know, they swing between those things. You know, if all of your relationships improved, your health couldn't not improve. And if your relationship with money improved, your health could not improve. And just absolutely every aspect of your life, whatever door you choose to go through, if it's something that's a constant in your life and you get a better relationship with it, your health improves.
Oh, wow.
So
So
measure
now
it.
would you say you would pick the easiest one to improve then? To focus on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The thing that you're already winning at,
So it doesn't
just
even
get better at that.
necessarily need to be health and fitness. It could be like work, or it could be relationships, or it could be whatever it is, or more an intellectual thing, and then it will impact the health. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is if you go deep enough down any rabbit hole, you'll get to everything else. When I was at school, I was I least cared about school, and I didn't want to do any of it, and I hated it. But I loved football, right? And I loved football so much that I remember every single football bibliography that I've read, and biography, biography, and books around football that I read when I was like 8 years old. And I learned all of the capital cities of Europe from football, and all of the maths of working things out, and how to get better at certain things. And then I realized, well, if I want to get better at this thing, then I need to eat differently. So I'm going to need to learn about nutrition. And if I want to be fitter or stronger, or if I want to communicate better with the people around me, or if, you know, I'm saying that pretty much any rabbit hole you go down, if you go down it deep enough, everything is there. So you end up automatically improving everything. So if you're a relationship specialist, you eventually get to the point where you're going, hey, both of you are treating each other like crap because you feel like crap. Start eating a bit better. Start going to sleep a little bit earlier, right? You
100%.
can't not get to it. So why not start where you are and improve at that thing?
build on it. Oh, it makes it so much easier. I love that you keep sharing with us all these hacks. They're just simple and easy to apply, because I've always felt like health and fitness had to be hard for some reason. And it's not. It's super, it's just, it's the way we look at it and how we tackle it. So build upon what's working great, and you will feel better. You'll feel better and then do better. It will be much easier. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the diets, it's like, I got to do better to feel better. It's completely opposite. And isn't that what's
Absolutely.
marketed to us? Why is that it? Like, that's what's marketed out there, no?
The I won't mention any brand names here, but the biggest brand in the UK for diets, the head of marketing said, if it worked, we wouldn't have a business. And you know, that's the true of diet companies, right? You need people to cycle through it, eventually fail, fall off, come back. You need their adherence, right? If somebody if somebody came to me and said, I want these habits, we'd go through the steps that created those habits, and they'd never need to see me again, because they'd have done the thing to create their habits. Whereas, because diet companies work on low pay, high adherence, they need people to fail. So they focus on the thing rather than focus on the person.
Wouldn't you say that people who do take it to the next level, that do resolve what those habits are with you, will just come back to you to resolve other ones? And then
Absolutely, yeah.
so, but that's not, but because they're on higher volume, then, so the whole diet industry is just totally selling us a bunch of beep. I can't swear on this thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's the only way that it can work, right? If somebody said to you, you know, you can never progress past this point in diet, you're going to have to sacrifice, I'm going to say, 2 hours a week to go to meetings, you'd be like, that's just crazy. Like, the way to maintain this individual is this one has to go to meetings twice a week, whereas this one doesn't have to go to meetings twice a week. So they've got an extra 2 hour advantage over you, plus travel time. It's just insane, right? It's nonsense. It's saying that you need to be plugged into this machine for 2 hours a week for you to work properly. That's just mental. And that's what we've been convinced by the diet industry, is you need to be plugged into us for X amount of time constantly, unless the diet company is saying, come to us for 30, 60, 90 days and you will never need to go on another diet again, then that's a different story. But most diet companies are like, you plug and play, right? You need to keep coming back to us. You need to go to meetings.
What do you mean by meetings? You mean like going to the gym?
So the two biggest diet companies in the UK, you attend meetings where you have weigh-ins and you're given advice and cut stamps, and you attended, and Sally lost 2 pounds this week, etc. And the idea is that it's a community support, but it's not. It's dependence, right? It's and that's basically, it's become less conscious, not become more conscious.
How do you feel about that?
I'm clearly passionately against said organizations.
And what would you recommend to people that are listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
Well, start by getting really, really truthful. You know, we mentioned it earlier, is rather than look at it less, look more deeply at where you are in your life right now and be kind of really honest around that. And then once you've got clarity around that, start defining the stuff that you already are doing and start measuring and tracking the stuff that you already are doing, and religiously track that stuff, and it will start growing. And then you can start looking at what can I do? What can I improve better? But the most common thing when you ask, if I ask somebody now to say, hey, start sending me your food pictures every day, some of them who are not dieting will just go, here you go. Here are the pictures. But some of them will feel shame around the thing that they're photographing and not send it. We've got to move to the other side of that and just go, there's no shame. It's just cause and effect. And we just want to know what's causing the current effect. And if you can look at it and more intensely look at it, then the changes will just become logical and simple.
So would you say for somebody who's not actively on a diet, I can totally see that. I mean, this week has been better, but when I was in New Jersey, I must say that I did love my Nutella pot. So would you recommend I just keep like a personal album of what I eat during the week, even though like I'm not doing a diet, but so just the act of taking a picture of that Nutella, I'll probably reach out for the Nutella less because I'm taking pictures of it.
Absolutely. It's just going to increase your consciousness around it, right? So just start photographing it, create a little album, and then every now and then you'll look at it and go, I wonder what I could do different. There's a lot of chocolate here. I wonder what I could do differently next week. Or maybe actually looking at this, it doesn't look very Instagrammable. I'm going to add a little bit more green, right? We eat 75% of our relationship with food is our eyes, right? So the more 5-star experience we create for our eyes, the more virtuous we will feel. So we'll feel good and we'll start doing more good, right? We'll just start growing.
I love the idea. I'm like, oh, we should all create a new Instagram account. I'm not gonna put photos of my food out on my Instagram account. I think I'll lose all my followers. But I could create a new Instagram account and just start posting. That would be a good accountability. I think I'll just start with my own private album. But those are such great hacks and tips, because it's just so looking at what you're already doing good. So if I look at myself, I drink water, I sleep well, and then just focusing on that, and then do my jumping jacks. Yeah. I walk my dog. That's good. It gets me out and about, get fresh air. So now I even feel now, just mentioning it, I feel better about myself. I definitely do. Well, when it's like, oh, I'm eating chips, I'm focusing on the stuff I'm not doing well, it doesn't motivate me to do well. I'm just like, oh, well, I already messed up, so I might as well continue.
Yeah, it's just enforcing that you're not doing enough, right? Rather than celebrating the fact that you're doing a lot.
The power of focus and the power of words. And it's really that. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to hear next week. I'd love to hear on the comments below how it's been for you to be focusing on this, because I think it is a life-changing hack. It really is. It's something so simple. I don't believe in things that are super complicated. I mean, I'm sure complicated stuff works too. I think simple ones work even more effectively because they're easy to implement.
Absolutely.
All right. So is there something else that you can think of that you'd like to share with us this week?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke a lot about recipes, but why not create a recipe of the ingredients that make you feel how you don't want to feel, and the recipe of what things make you feel how you do want to feel. So if you gave an example, you feel good when you walk your dog, drink water, get a good night's sleep. So start celebrating, start documenting that fact. That's a recipe for how you feel good. And then go, actually, I feel bad. And just, you may already know, right? You probably do already know. You definitely already know what makes you feel bad, but write it down. You go, write down, here's the list of ingredients of stuff that makes me feel bad. And here's how I act when I feel bad. And just look a little bit more closely.
And it makes me think of a sentence I always say. It's more in relationships and when in a workshop I give, but it relates to food too, is short-term pleasure versus long-term fulfillment. What do you think when I say that?
I think that you probably mean, well, no.
Like Nutella. Like Nutella, short-term pleasure, like pleasure where it's like, oh, it's tasty, but fulfillment long-term, no.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I think you could probably fit Nutella into a diet that works for you, right? I don't think you need to abstain entirely from it. I think, but the greatest impact around a diet is what's in rather than what's out. But and you can focus on what's out if you feel like you're over consuming something for sure. But yeah, I mean the short-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure over long-term fulfillment tends to be attached to this. You should have the conscious awareness to step away from when actually you probably already set off the chain reaction that results in the Nutella. Whereas if you went, actually the stuff that makes me feel better is, and you made sure that you ticked those boxes and you started focusing on those things more intently, then those other things would naturally start to fall away anyway.
Yes, I love that. And one of the things that you mentioned that made me think is, I was told once, it's like, okay, yeah, you can have the Nutella. I keep talking about Nutella. It's like an advertisement for that, but chocolate. Well, first, just have the healthy stuff that's also tasty. So first have the salad, then have a soup or whatever it is. And then if you're still hungry, yeah, have the chocolate. Just don't start with the chocolate.
Sure. Yeah,
So it's not
absolutely.
about what you take away, it's what you add to it. Just add something that makes you feel good. I know by being in Florida, it's warm. I'm totally more into salads because when it's hot, when it's cold outside, I want to eat something hot, and I'm more prone to want something that's like yummy and tasty and full in calories, which apparently is normal. And then when it's hot outside, I'm like, oh, salad. So I just eat a bunch of salads and I'm not hungry for chocolate or filling stuff anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's natural to want to hibernate when you're when it's cold, but you've only got so much real estate. You've only got so much space. So if you have all of the things that you need first, it's the same as money, right? If you pay yourself first and then you want to frivolously do something, then that's fine. You're still going to increase the money in your bank account. Whereas if you do the frivolous stuff and then try and save what's left, you won't have so much money in your bank account. And the same is true for food, and the same is true for growth. If you go, I'm going to get all of my learning from watching Pop Idol, you're not going to progress that much. But if you go, hey, I'm going to read a book a month, and every Saturday night I'm going to watch Pop Idol because that's my junk, then it's just prioritizing and going, pay me first and then entertain myself later. It's what do I need, and then do I still have that want or not?
Yes, and you talk about the health bank, right? I don't know, that's not the right words, but you see it like, or is it you or Peter? I don't know. But like the health bank where you're putting money into, not money, but like health to your life so that then you can live longer and do more things. It's like savings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, great. I'm conscious of the time. This has been so much fun and insightful. So many hacks. I mean, we talked about the power of words and how we can use that. And also, don't be talking to yourself about things that your brain is automatically going to dismiss and not believe. It needs to be credible. Power of focus, focusing on what it is that you already are doing well. It might seem like little, but as soon as you start making the list, like I started making the list right here with Ed on the call, and for my first thing was like, okay, I sleep well, but that was the only thing that came to my head. And then it triggered, well, I'll drink water too, and I walk my dog, and I do this, and now I'm eating salads, and I'm sure throughout the day it's going to trigger a bunch of things that I do that are healthy, and then it's going to reinforce that and then motivate me to even be healthier. So that is really something I find that's so powerful of today's call. We also talk about, feel better to do better. A lot of times it's like, oh, got to do better to feel better, especially with diet. You got to eat better. You got to do this better. No, it's like, do what makes you feel good. Look at what makes you feel good, and then you'll automatically start doing things that make you feel good. I'm definitely high level. Ed went a lot deeper with it. And we talked about stress management, how that wording is just, we don't want to be managing stress. So if you tuned in a little later on the live, make sure that you watch the recording, because this week's call was very powerful. And in about 10 minutes, we have another call coming up with our angel support call. So if you need any support as it relates to health or any other areas of your life, we have our angel call today at 12, so noon Eastern time. It's funny, it's like there's so many ways to say noon, right? 12 p.m., 12 noon, midday, so many different ways. And in Eastern time, we will have our angel calls. And yeah, I think that's it for today. And my little recap that I do sometimes on Facebook, if you have any questions for Ed, make sure that you sign up at www.hackmankind.com so you can have access to the VIP backstage area where we have our Q&As, and I read them off for Ed during our calls and all other panelist calls as well. So excited to be here with you, to have you come here every single week, Ed. It's so insightful. And on top of that, for our members at www.hackmankind, you have Ed every morning from Monday to Friday with a fitness hacks and some, tips and little mini workout routine. I wouldn't even call it a workout routine because you can do them in jeans. That's how you started. You started doing them in jeans, Ed. I love that. That was like my thing. He does workout in jeans. This is so awesome. And like some pressure points you can press, and then all of a sudden breathe and you're like more flexible. It's just insane. So incredible hacks on life hacks backstage area at www.hackmankind.com, and it is free. Peter was telling us only for the next week, right? I don't think it's going to last much longer than this week. So because there's a lot of things changing on our platform. So make sure to share this, have your friends, family, everybody sign up, www.hackmankind.com, because things will be changing. Of course, for any frontline responders, any nurses, EMTs, doctors, teachers, firefighters, or police officers, you will always be welcome for free to our membership platform. Even though we're changing it and it may become paid, we are going to be always welcoming you as a little thank you. It's our way of saying thank you for all you're doing for us. So catch you in about 10 minutes on our 12 p.m. Eastern time call. Thank you so much, Ed. Any thoughts before we go?
No, I enjoyed that. You're getting really good at that outro.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, we'll catch you real soon. Make sure to tune in next week, Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, for another amazing health and fitness panel call with Ed. Take care, everybody. Thank you, Ed.
Take care. Bye-bye.